Imagine this. You're lying in the snow, bleeding with your 3-day-old daughter, who has stopped crying in your arms. Your husband's family just threw you down a set of stone stairs in the middle of a snowstorm. They called you trash, scum, a nobody. What they didn't know was that in 4 hours, you would inherit $2.3 billion and you were about to make every single one of them paid dearly. I'm Olivia Thompson, and what you're about to hear is not fiction. This is the true story of how I went from dying in the snow to destroying an entire dynasty, of how a family that believed they were untouchable learned the hardest lesson of their lives. Never underestimate the woman you threw away. They humiliated me for 3 years. They recorded my worst moments for their 500,000 followers. They tried to steal my baby using a corrupt judicial system. They thought money and power made them invincible. They were wrong, because when I walked into that boardroom 8 weeks later with platinum blonde hair, a multi-billion-dollar empire backing me, and 4 million people watching it live, let's just say the look on their faces when they realized who I really was. That moment alone was worth all the suffering. But this is what made it legendary. They had signed a consent form without reading it, just as they had forced me to do. Karma has a wonderful sense of irony. Stay with me until the end, because the twist in the courtroom, the FBI arrests, and what happened to each of them, you won't believe how this ends. And if you've ever been told you're nothing, if you've ever been thrown away, this story is for you. Before we begin, do me a favor. Press the like button right now if you believe in justice. Leave a comment telling me what you would have done in my situation, and subscribe, because next week's story is even more incredible than this one. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. February 14th. Valentine's Day, the day my world fell apart. I was dragged across marble floors with my 3-day-old daughter screaming in my arms and thrown down a set of stone stairs in the middle of a blizzard. What they didn't know is that 4 hours later, I would inherit $2.30 billion and was about to make every single one of them pay for what they did. I'm Olivia Hayes, and this is how I went from bleeding out in the snow to destroying an entire family's dynasty. Stay until the end, because when they realized who I really was in that boardroom, the video went viral and completely destroyed them. You won't want to miss what happened when 4 million people watched them beg. Let me take you back to where it all began. 3 days earlier, I was in a hospital bed at Mercy General. My body was still recovering from an emergency C-section. The pain was excruciating, spreading from the incision in my abdomen with every breath. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to the emptiness I felt. My husband, Ethan, hadn't visited me in 52 hours, not once. I had been counting the hours. The nurses kept giving me pitying glances, whispering to each other when they thought I couldn't hear them. I kept telling myself he was just busy with work, that he would be here soon. God, I was so naive. It was February 14th, Valentine's Day. The irony of the date was not lost on me. Little Charlotte slept in the bassinet next to my bed, her face a little yellow from jaundice. The doctor said it was common, nothing to worry about. But every time I looked at her, my heart ADHD with fear. She was so small, so fragile, so perfect. And her father hadn't bothered to come meet her. I was still connected to 4s in both arms. I still had a catheter. The pain from the incision was about a 7 out of 10, even with the Percoet they gave me every 4 hours. Every movement was agony. Around 11 p.m., my best friend Jessica snuck into the room. She worked in the ICU. downstairs and had been checking on me during her breaks. Olivia, look, Jessica said, her voice tight with something I couldn't identify. She looked worried, really worried, not just sympathetic. I need to show you something. Please don't get upset, but you have to see this before anyone else tells you. She handed me her phone. It was already open to Instagram. I looked at the screen and my entire world shattered into a million pieces right there in that hospital bed. It was Ethan's account, a picture of him with another woman. She was beautiful, radiant, and clearly pregnant, too. Her hand rested on her belly in that universal gesture of mothers-to-be. They were at a fancy restaurant, a 5-star place I could never afford, a place Ethan had never taken me. The caption read, with my real family. Finally. Being honest. New beginnings. Number. Blessed number truth. Posted 6 hours ago. 47,000 likes. The comments were a mix of congratulations and confusion. Hey, aren't you married? Someone asked. Who's the other one? Demanded another. But most were just heart emojis and celebrations of his supposed truth. I felt as if someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart in their fist. Olivia, Jessica said softly. It gets worse. He's been telling people at the hospital that you trapped him. That he's finally free to be with the woman he truly loves. 3 years. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of trying so hard to be enough for him, for his family, for his world. 3 years of love and complete devotion. And all that time, he had someone else. My cell phone vibrated on the bedside table. It was an incoming call from an unknown number. I was too shattered to answer, too broken. I let it go to voicemail, barely registering that the caller ID had briefly shown something. W. Davenport. Private. I never knew that my grandfather had tried to call me at 11:47 p.m. to arrange our first meeting. I would never know how close I came to being rescued. Dr. Miller came into the room with discharge papers in her hand. She was the OBGYN who had delivered Charlotte, a kind woman in her 50s with gentle hands and a concerned look. Mrs. Sterling, she said carefully, I need to talk to you about something. The hospital's social work department has noted some concerning dynamics. Your husband hasn't visited you, and there have been certain. The door burst open. Victoria Sterling stormed in like a fury. My mother-in-law wore a designer coat that surely cost more than my car, with a Hermes bag hanging from her arm and an icy rage in her eyes. Behind her came James, Ethan's father, in an expensive suit that screamed money and power. Then Chloe, Ethan's sister, with her phone in her hand recording. And finally, Sophia, the woman from the Instagram photo. She had a smug smile with one hand on her pregnant belly as if marking her territory. Dr. Miller stepped forward. Excuse me. Visiting hours are over and Mrs. Sterling needs. Victoria cut her off with a wave of her hand. We're her family. We have every right to be here. She threw a folder at Dr. Miller. These are documents from Child Protective Services. My daughter-in-law is mentally unstable and unfit. We are here to protect our granddaughter. I stared at them, unable to process what was happening. Child Protective Services. Documents. What? The folder contained forged papers stating I had postpartum psychosis, a fake psychiatric evaluation from a doctor bought by the Sterling family. It recommended that I have temporary custody removed immediately, pending an evaluation. Dr. Miller's hands trembled as she read. I could see she was struggling. She knew this was wrong, but she wasn't sure what to do. The hospital's legal department had already been called. The Sterlings. Donation for the East Wing gave them a lot of power here. Victoria approached my bed. Her voice dripped with venom. You've ruined my son's life for long. Enough. This pathetic charade ends tonight. I was weak, confused, still dazed from the pain medication. What are you talking about? I just had his baby. Sophia laughed. She laughed in my face. She stepped forward and pulled some papers out of her purse. That baby isn't even his. We did a DNA test. She showed me fake lab results. Probability of paternity, 0%. My head was spinning. When? How? I was here the whole time. This was impossible. You can't test a newborn without the mother's permission. But they had the papers and they looked official. Chloe started a live stream on Instagram. I could see myself on her phone screen, pale and broken in a hospital bed. Hey everyone. Chloe's voice was cheerful and cruel. You wanted to know the truth about my brother's gold-digging wife? Well, here it is live. From the hospital where she's trying to trap him with a baby that isn't even his. I watched in horror as the comments started pouring in. Oh my God, is this for real? She looks so pathetic. Your brother deserves so much better. 500,000 followers watching me in my most humiliating moment. Victoria leaned in and said, let me tell you what you really were, Olivia. A joke. A bet. My son and his college friends bet $100,000 to see if he could marry the poorest girl on campus and stick it out for 3 years. She pulled out her phone and played a video. It was Ethan drunk at his bachelor party 4 years ago, laughing with 7 friends. Dude, 3 years with that charity case for $100,000. Easy money. I'll just close my eyes and pretend she's someone else. When we laughter, so much laughter, my world came crashing down. 3 years. Every I love you. Every anniversary. Every time I tried so hard to fit into their world, to be worthy of the Sterling name. It was all a joke. Chloe noticed my bracelet, the simple silver chain with a small charm that had belonged to my mother. It was the only thing I had left of her. Ooh, what's this? Chloe sneered. Your precious family heirloom. She tried to snatch it. I pulled my arm back sharply and a sharp pain shot through my abdomen. Don't touch it. It's the only thing I have of my mother. Victoria slapped me hard across the face. The sound echoed in the quiet hospital room. Dr. Miller gasped. That's assault. I'm calling security. James's voice was sharp. We are security. At Davenport Memorial Hospital, my family donated the entire East Wing. Call whoever you want. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the hospital was named after my grandfather. They had just threatened me in my own family's hospital. Jessica burst into the room. What the hell is going on in here? Hospital security arrived, but they looked confused. James' donation gave him power. They didn't know what to do. Victoria threw divorce papers at me. Sign them now or social services will take your baby tomorrow morning. We have doctors who will testify that you're unstable. You'll never see her again. I was sedated with painkillers, terrified. The pain from my wound was unbearable. The room was spinning. Please, I begged. Please don't take my baby. My hands were shaking so much I could barely hold the pen, but I signed. Sophia leaned in and whispered, her hot breath in my ear. Did you really think someone like you could keep a Sterling? You're a nobody. And you'll always be a nobody. Victoria smiled, cold and triumphant. You're discharged. Come to the mansion tomorrow to pick up your junk and then disappear. Forever. And just like that, they were gone. I collapsed to the floor, a mess of tears. My whole body was shaking. Jessica held me. We're calling the police. This is coercion. They're forcing you. No, I whispered. They have lawyers and so much money. I have nothing. I just want my baby to be safe. Dr. Miller took out her phone. I didn't see that she was recording the whole argument. I didn't know that her profession required her to report abuse. And she took her duty very seriously. I'm documenting this, she said quietly. What they're doing is abuse. But I was so broken, I didn't care. It's no use. They always win. But it would matter a lot, though I would find that out later. At that moment, I still didn't know. The next morning, February 15th, I took an Uber to the Sterling mansion in a wealthy suburb. I didn't have money for my own car. Ethan had controlled every penny during our marriage. Little Charlotte was in a hospital car seat, wrapped in a thin blanket. She looked so small, so helpless. At 3 days old, her life was already a mess. The mansion loomed before us. A classic piece of architecture that screamed old money from every column and window. I lived there for 3 years, and not for a single day did it feel like home. I still had my key. When I entered, all the household staff, the ones I thought were kind, avoided my gaze, some even smiled mockingly. I found all my belongings already packed. They had been thrown into trash bags at the entrance as if they were garbage. With trembling hands, I walked to my room. No, it wasn't the master bedroom. Ethan and I never shared it. I always slept in the service area, at the back of the house because to them, I was never family. Everything was destroyed. My clothes were soaked with water from the fountain, ruined. My books were torn apart. The pages scattered on the floor. The photos of my mom had been burned in the fireplace. I could still smell the ash. My mother's jewelry was gone. I found Chloe in the master bedroom wearing it. It was my mom's pearl necklace. The one thing I treasured more than anything in this world. Oh, this old thing. Chloe laughed, taking a picture of herself. It looks better on me anyway. Finders keepers. As I walked through the mansion, one last time, the memories hit me like a ton of bricks. The first year at Thanksgiving, Victoria made me serve the guests while the family ate. When I tried to sit down, she said, "The help doesn't eat with the family, dear." Ethan said nothing. A charity gala the second year. I wore a borrowed dress because I had no money. Victoria told me not to embarrass them, to stay in the back, not to talk to anyone important. James put me on coat check while Chloe mingled, showing off her designer dresses. The third year's Christmas. The Starings opened gifts worth thousands of dollars. Ethan's gift to me. A vacuum cleaner. Everyone burst out laughing. Victoria said, "At least now you'll be useful for something." 3 years of humiliations, one after another. I packed what little was salvageable into a small suitcase. Charlotte started to cry. She needed a diaper change and to be fed, but I had nowhere to do it. Just as I was about to leave, Victoria's voice boomed over the intercom. "Olivia, dear, to the main hall. Now we're all waiting for you." I felt my stomach drop to my feet. The main hall was gigantic. With marble floors I had been forced to scrub so many times. A crystal chandelier that cost more than most people make in a year, hung from the ceiling. There was the entire Sterling family gathered as if they were a tribunal about to deliver my sentence. Victoria was in the center like a queen, presiding over her court. James by her side, the king, Chloe on the stairs with her phone in her hand already recording. Ethan leaned against the wall, unable to even look at me, and Sophia clung to Ethan's arm with that victorious smile. Near them were 4 security guards I had never seen before. Big men, hired muscle. Victoria's voice was icy. Before you go and we forget you exist, you will kneel and apologize for wasting 3 years of our time and for trying to trap my son with an illegitimate child. I clutched Charlotte tighter to my chest. No, I'm leaving. Let me go. James's threat was quiet and deadly. Either you kneel or we'll make sure every homeless shelter in the state knows you're an unstable child abuser. Social services will hunt you down. I'm not kneeling. Victoria signaled to the security guards. It all happened too fast. One guard grabbed my arms. I screamed. Please, I have my baby. Please don't hurt her. Another guard ripped Charlotte from my arms. The pain was immediate and unbearable. My C-section. Stitches tore from the struggle. I felt something warm and wet spreading through my clothes. It was blood. Charlotte was screaming. That high-pitched newborn cry. That meant distress. That meant terror. Chloe was live-streaming the whole thing. This is what happens when gold diggers mess with the wrong family. Watch karma in action. The comments poured in. She deserves it. Throw her out on the street. Fake baby mama. 500,000 people watching me being destroyed. The guards dragged me across the marble floor. I was too weak to fight. Still recovering from surgery. The blood loss made me dizzy. My shoulder hit the corner of a marble column with a sickening crack. Pain exploded in my arm. It was probably dislocated. My bracelet got caught on the marble edge. The charm broke off and rolled across the floor. A maid picked it up and pocketed it. At that moment, I didn't know she would be important. Later, I was bleeding, screaming, begging. Sophia stood there laughing. How pathetic. Ethan, seriously, you wasted 3 years on this. Ethan's voice sounded empty, dead. Just get her out of here. He didn't even have the courage to feel guilty. They reached the massive oak doors of the entrance and threw them open. Outside, a snowstorm was in full force. It was freezing. The wind chill made it feel like below zero. The snow was falling so thick you couldn't see 10 feet in front of you. The wind howled like a living, furious animal. They threw me down the stone stairs. I tried to curl up to protect myself, but I landed hard. 5 steps. Each one was agony. My already injured shoulder took the brunt of the impact. I landed in the snow at the bottom, my blood staining the white ground red. My bag flew after me. The contents. Scattered medications. Diapers, a change of clothes, everything I had left in the world. Then a security guard threw Charlotte at me. I barely managed to catch her, pulling her to my chest to protect her from the cold. Chloe shouted from the doorway, "Don't come back or we'll have you arrested for trespassing. Say goodbye to your fake baby." Victoria's final words cut through the wind. This is where trash belongs. The doors slammed shut with a boom that echoed down the empty street. There I was, sitting in the freezing snow, blood everywhere, a dislocated shoulder, my C-section wound reopening. Charlotte's cries were getting weaker, and that was so much worse than her screams. I had no phone. It had broken. In the fall, no money, no coat, just a thin hospital sweater, no real shoes. Just hospital slippers that were already soaked. I honestly thought Charlotte and I were going to die there. "I'm so sorry. My baby," I whispered, tucking her inside my sweater to try to share my body heat. Mommy tried. "I'm so sorry." Charlotte fell silent. That terrified me more than Anything. Babies don't go quiet in the cold. Not unless something is very wrong. Please don't leave me. I begged. Her still little body. Please, you're all I have. My vision started to blur. Hypothermia was setting in. I could feel my body shutting down. I closed my eyes, ready to let go. Then I saw lights cutting through the snow. 3 black SUVs appeared like ghosts in the middle of the blizzard. The SUVs stopped right in front of me. The doors opened before the vehicles came to a complete stop. A man, an older man in an impeccable suit, got out holding an umbrella. Even at 3:47 in the morning, in the middle of a snowstorm, he looked like he had just left a board meeting. Miss Olivia. Catherine Hayes, he said. Thank God we found you. I could barely speak. How? Who? He knelt in the snow beside me, ruining what must have been a very expensive suit. He didn't seem to care. Your grandfather sent me. We need to get you both to safety now. Behind him, a team of paramedics in Davenport Global medical uniforms ran towards us with thermal blankets and medical equipment. Grandfather, I managed to say. My mother's father died before I was born. I don't have. Yes, you do. William James. Davenport, and we need to get you to the Davenport Medical Center immediately. Your daughter is 10 minutes away from critical hypothermia. The paramedics worked with professional efficiency. They wrapped Charlotte and me in thermal blankets. They put an 4 in my arm because I was so dehydrated. Oxygen for Charlotte because her breathing was shallow. Someone immobilized my shoulder. Pressure. Bandages for the bleeding. They put us in a heated SUV. The warmth felt like heaven after that brutal cold. The older man, whom I would soon learn was named Richard, sat in the vehicle with us, supervising everything. Through the blizzard, the professional drivers drove as if they could see perfectly. Richard was on the phone, his tone calm and efficient. Dr. Anderson, ETA, 8 minutes. I have a 28-year-old female. Post-op day. 3 C-section, active bleeding. Possible shoulder dislocation, moderate. Hypothermia, and a 3-day-old infant. With severe hypothermia in critical condition. Prepare the NICU and trauma. A paramedic was checking Charlotte's temperature. It's low, he said quietly. We need to warm her slowly. Normal for newborns is around 98.6. If she got much colder, her organs would start to be damaged. I watched them work on my daughter, too exhausted to do anything but trust these strangers who had appeared out of nowhere. We arrived at the private Davenport Medical Center at 4:15 a.m. This was not Mercy General, where I gave birth. This was something else entirely. A private hospital for the ultra-rich. Marble floors, art on the walls, rooms that looked like hotel suites. Charlotte was rushed to the NICU. A team of 6 specialists attended to her instantly. Dr. Anderson, the best pediatrician, spoke to me as they worked. You brought her in just in time. 5 more minutes and we would be talking about permanent damage. They took me to a private suite that looked like a luxury hotel room. They set my shoulder, which was excruciatingly painful but necessary. They restitched my C-section wound, gave me a blood transfusion, and put me on 4 antibiotics as the risk of infection was very high. Finally, they gave me painkillers that actually worked. I woke up at 11 a.m., 7 hours later, with sunlight streaming through the windows. For a moment, I thought it had all been a nightmare, but then I saw my bandaged shoulder, the 4s, and all the medical equipment. Panic seized me. Charlotte. Where's my baby? Just then, Dr. Miller, the same OBGYN from Mercy General Hospital, walked in. Olivia, breathe. Charlotte is stable. She's in the ICU. Under observation. She's going to be fine. What are you doing here? How? Mr. Blackwell called me, told me everything. I resigned from Mercy General this morning. I couldn't work at a hospital. That allowed that to happen to you. Then Jessica ran in. She hugged me very carefully and said crying, "Oh my God. Olivia, when you didn't answer your phone, I went to the Sterling mansion. I saw the blood in the snow. I thought." And she broke down completely. "I'm okay," I said. "We're okay." Richard Blackwell entered with a leather briefcase in his hand. "Ladies, I need a moment alone with Olivia. What I'm about to tell her is confidential." Jessica and Dr. Miller left, though it was clear they didn't want to. Richard pulled a chair up to my bed. They brought Charlotte in a wheeled incubator. She was still being monitored, but she was stable. Seeing her alive and safe made me cry again. "Olivia," Richard began, "your mother was Catherine Davenport. Before she was Catherine Hayes. Your grandfather was William James Davenport, founder and CEO of Davenport Global Industries." He showed me a picture. He was an older man with kind eyes and an imposing presence. I had never seen him in my life. I've never seen him. My mom never talked about her family. She said they were all dead. Richard told me the story. My mother ran away from home at 19 after an argument with her father over mine, a man from a much humbler background. William believed he was only using her for her money, and he was right. But Catherine was stubborn and very proud. She left with nothing. She changed her name and moved to a different state. She worked up to 3 jobs to raise me alone. After my father abandoned us when I was 2, her pride kept her from seeking him out. His pride kept William from apologizing. 2 stubborn people who loved each other but couldn't overcome their own egos. When my mother died 5 years ago in a car accident, William was devastated. He had been tracking her for years, always watching her but never approaching. Then he started looking for me. He found you 2 years ago. Richard said just after you married Ethan Sterling. My breath caught in my throat. For 2 years. William had been watching you. He had security following you and cameras monitoring the Sterling mansion. He saw everything they did to you. Richard showed me recordings of Victoria forcing me to serve at parties, of James making me work as an unpaid employee, Chloe's cruelties, Ethan's indifference. Absolutely everything. Why didn't he help me? My voice broke. Richard explained. William had wanted to intervene with all his might, but his lawyers, including Richard, advised him to wait. They needed completely ironclad legal protection for the inheritance. That way, there would be no way for the Starings to say, "I married Ethan." Knowing about the money, no way for them to contest anything. They were creating a trust structure that would protect me from everyone. The plan was for William to introduce himself to me the day after I gave birth. February 15th. Today, that call from an unknown number last night. I whispered. Richard nodded. It was William. He was flying back from overseas. He wanted to tell you that he would be at the hospital this morning to finally meet you. Richard's voice trembled. It was the first time he had shown real emotion. His flight landed at 6:30 a.m. He went straight to his car. I called him to confirm the meeting time. He asked how you were. I told him you had been discharged and we didn't know where you were. The GPS tracker located you at the Sterling mansion. GPS tracker. Your mother's bracelet. The one you've worn every day for years. William had a medical-grade GPS chip embedded in I said, waterproof with a 5-year battery and heat sensors. I touched my wrist. The bracelet was gone. I lost it in the snow when the charm broke. That's how we found you. At 3:47 a.m., the heat sensor triggered an alert. Subject: entering hypothermic temperature zone. I called William immediately. I told him you were in danger. He accessed the live security feed we had on the Sterling property. Richard showed me the recording on his tablet. The whole attack. Chloe live streaming. Me being dragged. Thrown down the stairs. Blood. In the snow. Charlotte nearly dying. All time-stamped. From 3:47 to 3:52 a.m. William saw that recording at 7:05 a.m. In his car. Richard's voice broke. Completely. At 7:15 a.m., his driver called me. William had collapsed a massive heart attack. The paramedics arrived at 7:21. He was pronounced dead. At 7:43 a.m. The crushing irony hit me. Like a punch to the gut. Olivia, when they threw you down those stairs at 3:47 a.m., you were a nobody. You were exactly what they said, poor, helpless, trash. But at 7:43 a.m., 4 hours later, when William's death was legally registered, you became the sole heir to a $2.3 billion empire. They threw you into the snow when you had nothing. But by the time you hit the ground and the clock started ticking towards 7:43, you were already a multi-billionaire. They just didn't know it yet. I stared at him, unable to process what he was telling me. Your grandfather died. Watching them abuse you, knowing he was about to give you the power to destroy them all. Richard handed me an envelope. It was William's handwriting on thick paper. I read the letter through tears. My dearest Olivia, if you are reading this, I am gone. I am so sorry. I waited too long. I was flying home to finally meet you. To tell you I'm sorry for failing your mother. For not finding you sooner. For watching that family hurt you without doing anything. I wanted to have the legal protection ready first. I wanted to make sure no one could ever take away what I am giving you. But I should have protected you first. I saw the security footage this morning. Watching them throw you and Charlotte into the snow, I realized I had made a terrible mistake. My heart couldn't take it. Literally. But even in death, I can protect you. Everything I built is yours. $2.3 billion. 40 companies, properties in 18 countries, everything. Take this empire. Use it. Show them what Davenport blood truly means. Never bow to anyone again. Make them pay for every blow, every tear, every moment they made you feel insignificant. You are not trash. You are my granddaughter. You have immense power, and I'm sorry I won't be there to see you succeed. With all my love, your grandfather, William. I clutched the letter to my chest, sobbing. Charlotte slept safely in her crib beside me. Finally safe. The trust is already established, Richard said. Everything transfers to you immediately. No probate, no delays. The inheritance taxes are already covered. The board of directors has been informed. Olivia, as of 8 a.m. this morning, you are the chairwoman of the board of Davenport Global Industries, and the Sterling family has no idea. I looked up, tears still on my face, but with something different in my eyes, something cold, something relentless. Tell me everything about their businesses, I said. Every vulnerability, every weakness. Richard smiled for the first time. Now you sound like your grandfather. The next day, February 16th, I was sitting in a wheelchair in the private boardroom of Davenport Global. I was still recovering, but I needed to understand What I now controlled. Charlotte was beside me in a designer stroller cared for by Davenport medical staff. She was healthy, the jaundice was fading, and her color was returning to normal. Richard presented me with leather-bound files on the Sterling family. Sterling Industries is in catastrophic debt. He began a total of $83 million. He showed me financial documents. James had embezzled $12 million from the pension fund for his personal expenses. Failed business ventures cost them $31 million. Operating loans totaled $40 million. They were 3 months from total bankruptcy if they couldn't secure new capital. James applied for a $75 million contract with Davenport Global last month. Richard said, a government defense contract for which we are the intermediary. It's their only hope for survival, and we control whether they get it or not. You control it. You are the CEO. Then came the information on Victoria. The Sterling-style boutiques, the project she was so passionate about. 5 locations, all in buildings owned by Davenport. Richard said the leases are up for renewal in 47 days, and she's $480,000 behind on rent. But here's the best part. She's been under-reporting her income to the IRS. We have proof of $2.30 million in tax evasion. Can we report her? I asked. I've already drafted the anonymous tip. I'm just waiting for your authorization. Private investigator presented Chloe's file. Chloe Sterling, 32 years old, claims to be 26 on all her social media. He showed me her driver's license next to her Instagram bio. The birth dates didn't match. Multiple plastic surgeries, none declared. Rhinoplasty in 2019, breast augmentation. In 2020, cheek fillers, Botox, lip injections continuously, and a Brazilian butt lift in 2021. Her modeling contract with the prestige agency clearly specifies that there should be no undeclared procedures. It's grounds for immediate termination. Who owns the prestige agency? I asked. Richard smiled. As of yesterday, you do. Davenport Global bought it 2 weeks ago. Chloe doesn't know yet. Next was Ethan's file. The college bet was fully documented. A group chat with 8 participants, and none of them were smart enough to delete it. Brad Miller, 23. Yo, no way you last 3 years married to that broke chick. LOL. E. Sterling. 100K says I can. Easiest money in the world. Chad Morrison, what if she finds out? E. Sterling, she won't. She's too dumb and desperate to question anything. There was also a video, the bachelor party recording Victoria had shown me, but the full version. Ethan said he closed his eyes and pretended I was Sophia, and everyone laughed. Ethan also embezzled $3.8 million from Sterling Industries to fund his lifestyle with Sophia, the investigator added. James knows, but he covered it up because his family. Finally, Sophia Beaumont. Only. That wasn't her real name. Alexandra Marie Thompson, the investigator said, showing her mugshot from California. From 2019. A professional con artist. 3 documented cases. Case 1, 2018. Engaged to a tech millionaire, faked a pregnancy, stole $400,000, and disappeared before the supposed miscarriage. Case 2, 2020. Engaged to an investment fund manager, faked a pregnancy, stole $650,000, and vanished. Case 3, 2021. Engaged to a pharmaceutical executive, faked a pregnancy, but was caught before they gave her the money. A warrant was issued for her arrest. She's wanted in California on charges of fraud, failure to appear in court, identity theft, and Why a fraud? The pregnancy with Ethan is also fake. We traced the ultrasound image. She bought it on a dark web forum for $200. Does Ethan know any of this? I asked. Not yet, I thought for a moment. If I expose Sophia now, Ethan becomes the victim. Poor him, deceived by a con artist. Richard seemed impressed. You learn fast. We'll save Sophia for later. For when it will cause the most damage. Over the next 8 weeks, I transformed. The first week was physical recovery and basic business, physical therapy for my shoulder and C-section, learning to hold Charlotte while reading quarterly reports. Richard taught me how to interpret financial statements. I attended meetings in silence, observing. I learned about every division of Davenport Global. The second week, I became a businesswoman, a crash course in management with Davenport executives. I studied the weaknesses of Sterling Industries. I took endless notes asking sharp questions that impressed the directors. I made my first presentation to the board on the technology division, and it was a total success. The third week was my physical transformation. Designer shopping, designer suits, jackets, and shoes. My hair went from brown to an elegant platinum blonde with balayage, professional makeup lessons, media training for my voice, posture, and an imposing presence. Stand as if you own the place, my coach told me. Because you do. The fourth week, I learned about power, self-defense, classes. I would never feel helpless again. Negotiation workshops with Richard. Meetings with the company's lawyers. Learning how to legally destroy someone. I practiced my executive face in the mirror. Cold, powerful, unbreakable. Weeks 5 and 6, the strategic moves began. Davenport Global quietly bought Sterling Industries debt from 15 creditors. A shell company acquired Chloe's modeling agency. We hired forensic accountants to audit Victoria's boutiques. We prepared evidence for the Heiress. The 7th week was about setting the trap. I prepared the presentation for the board with the design team. I forced myself to watch the video of my own assault. We recovered the security footage from the Sterling mansion. Thanks to the maid who kept my bracelets. Charm. She came forward when I paid her $50,000 for the charm and the video she secretly recorded on her phone. There were anonymous leaks to gossip blogs about Chloe, and we scheduled the business meeting with James. The 8th week, the final preparations. I practiced my speech for the board in front of the mirror. Charlotte was now 2 months old. She was healthy and happy, cared for by professional nannies. I stood in my flawless tailored suit, perfect platinum hair, and precisely painted red lips. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back at me. Let's destroy them, I said. The meeting was set for April 12th. They had no idea who they were about to face. April 2nd, 10 days before the boardroom meeting, Chloe was still posting daily on Instagram from a beach vacation in the Caribbean, paid for by her parents. The caption read, 26 and living my best life. Number. Blessed. Number natural beauty. Number. No filter. 486,000 followers. The comments gushed about how perfect she was. Chloe felt invincible. I called her from my old phone number, the one she still had saved. She answered, laughing. I could hear Sophia and Victoria in the background. Oh my God, it's the trash calling. Let me put her on speaker. Olivia, how's life in the gutter? Wherever you're living, found a homeless shelter that takes babies yet? I kept my voice low and broken. I was acting. I just wanted to know if you would Reconsider the social services case. Please, I miss Charlotte so much. The social services case had been closed in the first week for lack of evidence, but Chloe was cruel enough to pretend it was still active. Oh, honey, not even social services wanted your baby. You're a pathetic mother. But hey, at least Ethan and Sophia's wedding is next month. You're invited to watch from the service entrance. Scandalous laughter. Victoria. In the background. Tell her we've already forgotten she exists. Sophia. Tell her. Ethan says the last 3 years were the worst of his life. More laughter. You know what, Olivia? You were always a nobody, and you'll always be a nobody, but thanks for the entertainment. Bye. She hung up while their laughter echoed. I was in the Davenport Global office with the phone on speaker. Richard was listening. My face was cold, emotionless. Did you get what you needed? Richard asked. Yes. Execute the Chloe package now. April 3rd, 6 a.m. A popular gossip blog published a post. Instagram influencer Chloe Sterling, the lies behind the likes. A full report with evidence. Her real driver's license showing she was 32, medical records showing all her plastic surgeries legally obtained through medical billing audits before and after photos. A comparison of her natural beauty claims against the reality of the surgeries. Financial documents showing that her parents funded 70% of her influencer lifestyle. Screenshots of her lying to brands about her age. The article went viral in less than 2 hours. Number Chloe Sterling exposed was the #1 trend on social media. TikTok videos analyzed every photo for evidence of surgery. Beauty YouTubers made videos titled, Chloe Sterling lied to us. Sponsors started canceling a major makeup brand of contract, false representation. A popular clothing brand. We demand honesty. Your contract is terminated. A diet tea company. We are terminating our partnership effective immediately. 12. More brands pulled out in the next 4 hours. At 9 a.m., the Prestige modeling agency sent an email. Dear Chloe, due to contractual violations regarding undisclosed procedures and misrepresentation of your age, we are terminating your contract effective immediately. Please return all agency property by the end of today. Chloe had no idea I owned the agency. At 11 o'clock a.m. she did a live stream on Instagram, crying with all her makeup running. Guys, this is all lies. I'm 26. I've never had surgery. This is Photoshop. Someone is trying to destroy me. The comments started pouring in. We have your driver's license, sis. Just admit it. You lied to us. Unfollowing 47,000 people watched her break down in real time. Her follower count plummeted. 486,00450,000,00420,000. 380,000. Chloe sobbed into the camera. Please, I don't know who's doing this, but please stop. Victoria called her. Get off Instagram now. You're only making it worse. Mom, someone leaked my entire medical history. How is that even legal? I don't care. Fix this. Within a week, Chloe's followers dropped to 180,000. No sponsors, no agency, gossip blogs, writing daily follow-up articles. Her name was a laughingstock. She called Victoria desperate. Can you make Dad fix this? Your father has his own problems. Sterling Industries is in trouble. Figure it out yourself. I watched the news about the case with Richard. Phase 1 complete. Chloe neutralized. She called me trash. She recorded my assault. For fun. She deserves everything that's happening to her. Who's next? Richard asked Sophia. And then we'll leave. Victoria and James for the boardroom. April 5th, the Sterling Mansion. Ethan and Sophia were living together, planning their May wedding. Sophia's belly was growing a high-quality, very convincing fake pregnancy bump. Victoria was busy with wedding plans. James was stressed about business, but hiding it. An anonymous package arrived. Ethan opened it in his study. Inside was a complete file on Alexandra Marie Thompson, criminal record, mugshot from 3 previous scams, documentation of fake pregnancies, the ultrasound image she used with metadata showing it was purchased online, bank records showing $650,000 stolen from previous victims. A note. Ethan, you made me feel like trash for 3 years. Now you know what it feels like to be deceived. Check her stomach. It's fake. You're welcome. A friend. Ethan stormed into the master bedroom, where Sophia was dressing. What the hell? Are you really? He threw the file at her. Sophia stammered. Honey, I can explain. Your name isn't even Sophia. You're a con artist. She tried to run. He grabbed her arm. Her sleeve caught on the dresser drawer. The pregnancy belly came out of her dress. Expensive. Silicone, but fake. It hit the floor with a thud. Ethan stared at her. Get out of my house now. Victoria and James ran in, saw the belly on the floor. Victoria gasped. James picked up the file. She's wanted in California. Sophia tried to grab her purse. James blocked the door. You're not going anywhere. I'm calling the police. At 11:30 a.m., the local police arrived with a warrant from California that was finally executed. Sophia in handcuffs screamed, "This is a setup. Someone sent this information. Someone is targeting us." Victoria stopped. Who would even know about Chloe, she said, saying what everyone was thinking. First me, now Sophia. Someone is after us. James tried to dismiss it. Don't be paranoid. It's a coincidence. But his face showed doubt. That night, Ethan sat alone in his study, drinking. Everything was falling apart. His 3-year marriage was a bet. His friends still laughed about. He had a real daughter with Olivia that he had abandoned. Sophia was a con artist. The company was failing. Everything he touched turned to trash. He pulled out his phone, looked up my old number, now disconnected. He almost called to apologize. Victoria came in. Don't even think about it. Maybe we were too hard on her. The baby, Charlotte, she's my daughter. And I, Victoria, slapped him. That woman is gone. She's nothing. Focus on what's important. Saving this family's business. And if someone is attacking us for what we did to Olivia. Victoria laughed. Olivia, that pathetic girl is probably dead in a ditch. She has neither the resources nor the brains to come after us. I watched them through a hacked security feed, hearing every word. My expression was icy. April 6th. I watched the starings tear each other apart on the security cameras. Richard said, the starings are destroying themselves. Ethan and Sophia are separated. Chloe's career is ruined. Victoria is panicking about money. You could stop here. Take Charlotte. Move to another country. Live your life. They're already suffering. I looked at 2.5-month-old Charlotte, smiling. Maybe you're right. Maybe revenge isn't worth it. They're destroying themselves. I just want peace. I want Charlotte to grow up away from all this ugliness. I started planning to move to Europe. Davenport Global had offices overseas. I Could run the company from there, never. See the starings again, let them rot in their own consequences. For a moment, I truly considered mercy. But then came April 8th, legal documents arrived at the Davenport Global Office. Sterling family versus Olivia Hayes. A petition for emergency custody. They alleged that I had abandoned Charlotte. They presented false witness statements from paid-off mansion employees. They said I was mentally unstable, citing the fake and updated psychiatric evaluation from a compromised doctor. That the Sterling family could offer a stable home with 2 parents, that Ethan had reformed and was seeking to make amends, that a child's best interest was a wealthy and stable Sterling home instead of a single mother. They scheduled an emergency hearing for April 11th. In just 3 days. The judge was a well-known figure in the local family court. Richard got very serious. Olivia, this is serious. This judge is old money and sides with traditional families. But I have proof. The assault, the abuse. They're alleging that all the evidence was obtained illegally. Without valid proof, it's your word against theirs. In this court, they have the home field advantage. That thought hit me like a punch. I have $2.30 billion and I can still lose my daughter. Money doesn't always win in family court, especially when the judge is biased. My legal team with 5 of the best lawyers convened. We need Dr. Miller's testimony about the abuse at the hospital. She's scared. Testifying means going against a hospital that the Sterling family has donated to. And what about Jessica, the nurse? It's hearsay. She didn't witness the assault directly. And the illegally obtained mansion security video won't be admitted as evidence. So, we have nothing. The lead lawyer was blunt. We have your testimony, but they'll paint you as a bitter, vengeful ex-daughter-in-law, and the judge is already on their side. April 11th, the local family court. I arrived with my legal team. Across the hall, the Sterling family had 8 lawyers. The Sterling's lawyer began. Your Honor, this is about a child's well-being. Charlotte Sterling was born into a loving family. Her father, Ethan Sterling, made mistakes like we all do. But he is now committed to being the father she deserves. Her grandmother, Victoria Sterling, and her grandfather, James Sterling, are pillars of society, with the resources and stability to provide her with an exceptional upbringing. The defendant, Olivia Hayes, has shown erratic behavior. She abandoned her daughter with strangers, while she has been seen in and out of various luxury hotels and corporate buildings. We request the immediate transfer of custody pending a full evaluation. They were twisting my work at Davenport Global to look like suspicious behavior. My lawyer responded, Your Honor, this is a clear attempt by an abusive family to continue tormenting my client. Olivia Hayes was assaulted. She was thrown out of the Sterling home in the middle of a snowstorm with a 3-day-old baby. Objection. No proof of assault has been presented. Sustained. Counselor, stick to the facts presented as evidence. Victoria took the stand, dressed as the perfect grandmother, a designer suit, pearls, with an expression of concern. Your Honor, I loved Olivia like a daughter. We welcomed her into our home. Despite her humble background, we tried to help her adjust to our family's lifestyle. When she had the baby, we were overjoyed. But Olivia became increasingly paranoid and accusatory. She said we were trying to steal Charlotte from her. We only wanted to help. She left our house on her own in the middle of the night. We were very worried. Now we find out she's been. We don't even know where she's living or what she's doing. Ethan just wants to be a father to his daughter. My lawyer cross-examined her. Mrs. Sterling, you claim Olivia left voluntarily. Why would a woman recovering from surgery leave in the middle of a snowstorm with a newborn? I don't know. As I said, she was acting very strangely. Did you or anyone in your family lay a hand on Olivia Hayes? Of course not. That's a vile lie. And what about this? My lawyer tried to show Chloe's Instagram recording. Objection. That recording was obtained without permission and has been edited. Sustained. I will not consider illegally obtained evidence. Chloe testified. Well coached and very calm. After her public humiliation, Olivia always resented our family. She was jealous of me, of our lifestyle. The night she left, she was screaming at my mother, threatening us. We tried to calm her down, but she ran out into the snow. I was afraid for the baby, so I recorded to document her erratic behavior for child protection. Ethan gave the performance of his life. Your Honor, I made terrible mistakes. I was a bad husband. I neglected Olivia, and I'm deeply ashamed. But I love my daughter. I want to be her father. I'm in therapy now, working on being a better man. My family can offer her stability, a home, resources, and a future. Olivia, I don't even know where she lives. How could she properly care for Charlotte? Then I took the stand. I told the whole truth, the bet, the abuse, the hospital setup, how they threw me into the snow. The Sterling's lawyer tore me apart. Miss Hayes, you claim abuse, but you don't have a single piece of evidence. No police reports, no hospital records of this supposed assault. Your only witnesses are friends who will of course support you. Isn't it true that you are simply a resentful ex-wife trying to keep a father from his child? No. They threw me down the stairs. I have the recording. A recording you illegally obtained by hacking their security system. Objection. Overruled. Answer the question, Miss Hayes. Someone recovered it for me. So, you admit it was obtained illegally. The judge delivered his verdict. This is indeed a complicated case. However, it is my duty to prioritize the well-being of the child. While Miss Hayes appears to be a loving mother, I am concerned by the lack of solid evidence to support her serious accusations. In contrast, the Sterling family has demonstrated resources, stability, and a genuine desire to provide for Charlotte. Therefore, I grant temporary custody to Ethan Sterling and his family for a 30-day evaluation period. Miss Hayes will have supervised visits twice a week. I felt my world collapse. No, please. They brought Charlotte in from the waiting room. I held her and sobbed uncontrollably. No, please. Don't take her from me, please. A social worker gently took Charlotte from my arms. Victoria took her with a mocking smile. Charlotte cried, reaching her little arms out to me. I broke down. This was worse than the snow because this time I had money, power, and resources. I had everything, and I still lost. The system had failed me. On the courthouse steps, camera flashes went off non-stop. The press was covering the case. Victoria took Charlotte to the Sterling's car, with Chloe by her side, looking victorious. Ethan didn't even look at me. That night, alone in the Davenport Global penthouse, I couldn't stop staring at Charlotte's empty crib. I called Richard. I tried to do things the right way, legally and civilly, and they still won. They took my daughter. We'll appeal. We'll fight. No. My voice changed. It became cold. Final. The rules are over. No more playing their game. You told me I control the board. Well, I'm flipping it over. Set up the meeting for the contract. I want them all in that room. April 12th, tomorrow. Olivia, are you sure? They want a war. They'll get annihilation. I worked from midnight to 6 a.m. I called Dr. Miller. I need you to testify. I will protect you. Please. She was crying. I'm scared. So am I, but we're doing it anyway. My team found Chloe's und Instagram livestream from the hospital saved on Instagram servers. It was legally accessible. My lawyers filed an emergency motion with the new evidence. I didn't sleep. I put on my armor, a white designer pants, suit, perfect platinum hair, red lipstick. I looked in the mirror. Let's end this. April 12th, 2 p.m. Davenport. Global headquarters in a major city. 52nd floor. The Sterling family arrived in an older model luxury car. Their newer car had been repossessed. They looked worn. James' suit didn't fit right anymore from the weight he'd lost from stress. Victoria's jewelry was clearly costume, not real. She had to pawn the real stuff for rent. Chloe wasn't wearing designer clothes. Her hair wasn't professionally done, and she looked exhausted. Ethan was hungover and defeated, but they tried to look confident. This $75 million contract was their only hope. In the elevator, Victoria said, "Remember, we are the Starings. Old money. They will respect that. James, just let me handle the negotiation. We need this contract or we're finished." Chloe checking her phone. At least the situation with Olivia is resolved. The judge gave us Charlotte. Ethan said nothing. Just stared at the elevator floor. The elevator opened on the 52nd floor. Breathtaking floor-to-ceiling windows. The city skyline, modern art, obvious wealth. The receptionist directed them to the main boardroom. It was enormous. Glass walls overlooking a famous landmark, a conference table that could seat 20. At the head, the CEO's chair was turned away, facing the city. 8 board members in expensive suits were already seated. Security guards stood at the exits. A massive screen hung behind the CEO's chair. The Sterling family sat across from the CEO's chair. James cleared his throat. "Thank you for this opportunity, too." My voice cut him off. "Hello, James." The chair swiveled slowly. There I was in a position of total power. Flawless platinum blonde hair, white designer pants suit, red-soled heels, my grandfather's signate ring, red lipstick, a glacial expression. "Hello, Victoria." Chloe, Ethan. Their reactions happened in slow motion. The color drained from James's face. He stumbled backward into his chair. Victoria fainted outright. Chloe caught her, looking at me in complete horror. Chloe's jaw dropped. She couldn't process what she was seeing. Her phone fell from her hand. Ethan was completely frozen, his eyes wide, unable to speak. The security guards stood in front of the exits. No one was leaving. James recovered enough to speak. What is this? Is this some kind of joke?" I stood up and walked slowly around the table. My voice was calm and deadly. "Please sit. We have a $75 million contract to discuss." Victoria came to, hysterical. "This is insane. It can't be. You're a nobody. I am chairwoman Olivia Catherine Davenport, CEO of Davenport Global Industries, sole heir to my grandfather William Davenport's $2.30 billion empire." I pointed to the portrait hanging on the wall, the official photo of William Davenport. "And You are here because you applied for a contract with my company. Ethan finally managed to speak. This is impossible. How are you here? Let me tell you a story. I pressed the remote. The screen behind me lit up. The first slide showed February 15th, 3:47 a.m. The video of me being thrown down the stairs of the Sterling mansion. Timestamped clear as day. Victoria screamed, "Turn that off. You can't show that." The video played in its entirety. Chloe live streaming. Me being dragged across the marble floor, the blood on the ground. Victoria demanding I kneel. The guards ripping Charlotte from my arms. Me thrown down the stairs. The blood in the snow. The doors slamming shut. The boardroom was dead silent. Even the executives who hadn't seen this looked horrified. February 15th, 3:47 a.m. You threw me down those stairs. At that moment, I was exactly what you said. I was a nobody. Poor weak trash. The next slide showed William James Davenport's death certificate. Date of death, February 15th, 7:43 a.m. 4 hours later, my grandfather died of a heart attack after watching the security footage of what you did to me. His will made me his sole heir, effective immediately upon his death. I paused for maximum impact. So, when you threw me into that snow at 3:47 a.m., I was a nobody. But by the time I hit the ground and the clock started ticking towards 7:43 a.m., I was already a multi-billionaire. You just didn't know it yet, Victoria whispered. Oh my God. Without knowing his wife had just inherited a multi-billion-dollar empire. Her in-laws and mistress threw her into the snow. It's an amazing headline, don't you think? Now, let's talk about your situations. The next slide showed James Sterling's finances. All in the red. Sterling Industries. $83 million in debt. Except, it's not $83 million anymore. As of 3 weeks ago, I own $75 million of that debt. I bought it from your creditors at a nice discount, and I'm calling it due. Today, you have 48 hours to pay in full, or I will seize all your assets. James tried to speak, but no words came out. Oh, and this. The FBI logo appeared. Email chains showing James' embezzlement from the pension fund. The FBI received these documents at 9 a.m. Expect charges by the end of the week. Next slide. Victoria Sterling's boutiques. Sterling-style boutiques. 5 locations. All in my buildings. You are evicted. Effective immediately. The locks will be changed at 5 p.m. You also owe $480,000 in back rent. I will be suing you for that rent plus damages. And one more thing, the IRS logo appeared. The IRS received documentation of $2.3 million in tax evasion yesterday. Expect an audit. A picture of Chloe wearing my mother's jewelry appeared. And I am suing you personally for $5 million for the theft of my mother's jewelry, which is a family heirloom. Victoria gasped, clutching her chest. Next slide. Chloe Sterling before and after photos from her scandal. Your modeling career destroyed. Your influencer status finished. But here's my favorite part. A video played. Chloe's Instagram live from the hospital. The full recording of her broadcasting my abuse. This was publicly broadcast to 500,000 people. It is admissible evidence. The local police department received this recording this morning. Assault charges have been filed. Chloe burst into tears. Next. Ethan Sterling. The college bet video played in full. Every cruel word, every laugh, every degrading comment about me. This will be sent to every major news Outlet today at 6 p.m. Your $3.8 million embezzlement from Sterling Industries was also reported to the FBI. But here's the part you really care about. Final slide. The custody case about Charlotte. New recordings appeared. Dr. Miller's phone recording from the hospital. Clear. Audio of threats and assault. Chloe's Instagram Live. Legally admissible as a public broadcast. The testimony of 3 former Sterling Estate employees whom I paid to tell the truth. An emergency motion was filed this morning in the family court. New evidence. A different judge. Hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning. You will never see Charlotte again. Ethan lunged at me over the table. You witch. You ruined everything. Security tackled him to the ground. I didn't even flinch. Ethan was on the floor, pinned by security. You ruined my life. We gave you everything. I leaned down and spoke quietly just for him. You gave me nothing. You married me for a bet. You let me be abused for 3 years. You abandoned your daughter when she was 3 days old. I didn't ruin your life, Ethan. You did. Victoria fell to her knees, genuinely begging. Please, please, we can make a deal. We'll give you anything. I'll apologize. You have nothing I want. I walked over to her and looked down at her. You called me trash. You said I was a nobody. You said my place was in the snow. But trash doesn't own a $2.3 billion empire. Trash doesn't destroy dynasties. You didn't throw away trash, Victoria. I leaned in closer. You threw away a queen. James, completely defeated, made one last attempt. The contract. Please, we need. There is no contract. There never was. This meeting was never about business. It was about you understanding exactly who you destroyed and exactly who destroyed you. I picked up the remote. Again. Oh, and one more thing. The screen switched to a live YouTube stream. Viewers. At that moment, 4.2 million. This entire meeting has been liveriumed. On my private YouTube channel. 4.2 million people just watched this entire conversation. The comments flooded the screen. No way. She is a total queen. They deserve everything they get. This is the best revenge I've ever seen. Olivia Davenport is my hero. Chloe's voice was shrill. You can't. That's illegal. We didn't consent to check the NDA you signed when you entered this building. Clause 47. Media consent for business meetings. I handed Victoria the paper she had signed without reading. You didn't read it. I learned that from you. Always read what you sign. It was a reference to the hospital scene where they forced me to sign the divorce papers. Security escorted them out and they weren't gentle. Victoria was being dragged. You'll regret this. Well, sue you. Sue me with what money? You're bankrupt. Goodbye, Victoria. Chloe was sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. Please. You recorded my worst moment for entertainment. You wanted me to go viral for being humiliated. Congratulations. Now you're viral, too. Ethan looked me in the eyes one last time. Olivia, please. Charlotte is my daughter. No, she's my daughter. You're just the sperm donor who abandoned her. You will never see her again. Security forced him out. James just walked out. Silently, broken, defeated. His empire was over. I was left alone in the boardroom looking out at the city skyline. Richard came in. The stream is still live. It's up to 5.8 million viewers. I just nodded. My phone vibrated. It was a text from Dr. Miller. Emergency custody hearing tomorrow. With the new evidence, We're going to win. Charlotte is coming home. For the first time in months, I smiled. A real genuine smile. Outside the Davenport Global building, the Sterling family was met with absolute chaos as they exited. There were about 50 reporters. Camera flashes were non-stop. Questions were shouted at them. Is it true you threw a newborn into the snow? Did you marry her for a bet? Are you going to be arrested? FBI agents were already waiting for them. James Sterling, Ethan Sterling. You are under arrest for embezzlement and wire fraud. They were handcuffed. Read their rights. Victoria and Chloe weren't arrested at that moment, but the press cornered them. Chloe's phone was blowing up with hate messages. Victoria just tried to hide her face. On social media, the news was a global trend. Number 1, number Sterling family exposed. Number 2, number Olivia Davenport. And number 3, number $1 billion revenge. The next morning was the custody hearing. With Dr. Miller's testimony, the hospital recording, and Chloe's live stream, the judge ruled immediately I was granted full custody of my daughter. The Sterlings were denied all visitation while their criminal trial was pending. When they finally handed Charlotte to me, I held her and couldn't stop crying. She was safe. She was finally truly safe. 6 months passed. It was October 15th. I was on the cover of a major business magazine. The headline read, Olivia Davenport, the CEO who came from nothing. Davenport Global stock had risen by 40%. We expanded into 3 new markets. I was in my office with Charlotte, now 8 months old, playing on a mat by my desk. Jessica came to visit. You did it, she said. We did it. I corrected her. And so the fate of the Sterling family was sealed. James was found guilty. 12 years in a federal prison for embezzlement. Victoria ended up on house arrest. She filed for bankruptcy. She now works at a department store to pay her tax debt and lives in a small 1-room apartment. Chloe faced no criminal charges, but her career was destroyed. She got a job at a call center. Her Instagram followers dropped to just 12,000. She lost 97% of them. Ethan took a plea deal, 7 years in prison, and formally signed away all his parental rights to Charlotte. Sophia, or rather Alexander Thompson, was found guilty in California. 15 years in prison. 4 multiple counts of fraud. Sometimes people ask me if I regret anything, if the revenge was really worth it, and I just look at my happy, healthy Charlotte, growing up knowing she is loved and safe. I think of the $50 million I donated to shelters for women and victims of abuse. I think of all the women who have written to me telling me their own stories of how they survived and found the strength to move on. The original video of the assault has been viewed over 127 million times. The Sterling family became a global symbol of karma and justice. Their cruelty was exposed for all to see. Was it worth it? Every damn second. Let me tell you something I learned on this journey. Something I wish someone had told me when I was lying in the snow, convinced I was worthless. Pain doesn't break everyone. Sometimes if you're strong enough and refuse to give up, pain forges you into something harder than diamonds, something unbreakable. When they threw me down those stairs, I was broken, bleeding, convinced I was a nobody, but I was so wrong. It wasn't that I was a nobody. I was just someone who hadn't discovered her own power yet. The media attention from the live stream was incredible. For weeks, I couldn't go anywhere without being recognized. Some called me a hero, others called me vindictive, that I had stooped to their level, that I should have been the bigger person. To those people, I ask, what would you have done? Would you have turned the other cheek when they threw your newborn daughter into a snowstorm? Would you have forgiven when they tried to steal your child with a corrupt legal system? Would you have shown mercy to people who showed you none? That's what I thought. There's a big difference between revenge and justice. Revenge is hurting someone because they hurt you. Justice is making sure they can never hurt anyone again. And what I did was justice. The Sterling family didn't just abuse me. It was their way of life. When everything came to light, 7 other women came forward with their stories about the Starings. Women Ethan had dated before me. Women who worked at Sterling Industries. Women who had been mistreated, abused, and silenced. Every single one of them thanked me for having the courage to tell what they had suffered. At that moment, I knew I had done the right thing. I started the Davenport Foundation for Survivors of Abuse with an initial fund of $50 million. We provide legal assistance, therapy, a safe place to live, and job training for those escaping abusive situations. We have helped over 2,000 people in just 6 months. Charlotte will grow up knowing that when someone tries to make you feel small, you have 2 choices. You can either believe them or you can prove them wrong. I chose to prove them wrong. A year after that meeting on April 12th, I held a press conference. The room was packed with reporters. Cameras were everywhere. Today marks 1 year I began since I sat in a boardroom with the people who abused me for 3 years. People who threw me and my baby into a snowstorm. People who tried to steal my daughter using a corrupt legal system. Today, I stand here as the CEO of a successful company, as the mother of a happy and healthy daughter, and as a woman who did not let cruelty define her. I'm often asked if I regret what I did, if the revenge was worth it. And I want to make something very clear. What I did was not revenge. It was holding them accountable. The Sterling family didn't lose everything because of my revenge. They lost everything because they broke the law. James Sterling stole money from his employees' pension fund. Victoria Sterling evaded millions in taxes. Ethan Sterling committed fraud. And Chloe Sterling assaulted me and broadcast it to 500,000 people. I didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. I just made sure the whole world saw it. For anyone going through their own storm in their moment of total despair, I want you to listen closely. You are not trash. You are not a nobody. You are not any of the things they told you to try to break you. You have power. You have worth. You are enough. So get up, brush yourself off, and show them what you're made of. The entire room erupted in applause. After the conference, I went home to the penthouse. Charlotte was with her nanny playing with blocks. As soon as she saw me, she smiled and held out her little arms. I picked her up and held her tight, inhaling that sweet baby smell. You know what, my little girl, I whispered. Your mommy almost broke, but she got back up. And one day, when you're older, I'll tell you this whole story. I'll tell you that no matter what anyone says, you decide who you are, not them, you. Charlotte giggled and grabbed my hair. I laughed. For the first time in years, the laughter was genuine and free. That night, Jessica came over. We sat on my balcony, overlooking the city skyline, drinking wine. Do you ever think about that night? She asked. In the snow. Every day, I admitted. But not in the way you think. I don't think about it with pain anymore. I see it as the moment everything changed. The instant I stopped being a victim and became a survivor. You're incredible, you know. I shook my head. I'm not special. I'm just a woman who refused to stay down. That's what makes you special. We sat in a comfortable silence watching the city lights. What's next for you? Jessica asked. I thought about it. I honestly don't know. Continue to grow the company, help people with the foundation, raise Charlotte to be strong and kind. Maybe that's enough. It's more than enough. You've already changed so many lives. That night after Jessica left, I stood in Charlotte's room, watching her sleep. She was so peaceful, so innocent, so perfect. I thought about my mother, Catherine, how she fled her own father's control to make it on her own, how she worked 3 jobs to support me, how she was too proud to ask for help even when she needed it. I thought about my grandfather, William, how he watched me suffer for 2 years, wanting to help, but trapped by lawyers and strategy, how he died watching someone he loved suffer. They were both destroyed by pride, by not being able to bridge the gap between love and stubbornness. I wouldn't make that mistake. I promise you, I whispered to a sleeping Charlotte. You will grow up knowing you are loved. That asking for help is not weakness. It's courage. That you will never accept cruelty from anyone, no matter who they are. And if anyone ever tries to make you feel small, you remember that your mother was thrown into the snow and became a queen. Charlotte stirred in her sleep, her tiny hand closing into a fist. I smiled and kissed her forehead. Tomorrow, I had a board meeting. Next week, we were launching a new division of Davenport Global focused on ethical business and employee well-being. Next month, the foundation would open 3 new shelters. But tonight, I was just Olivia, a mother watching her daughter sleep. A woman who had survived hell and come out stronger. And that was enough. 5 years later, today, Charlotte starts kindergarten. She's wearing a purple dress she picked out herself with pigtails in her dark hair, bouncing with excitement. Mommy, do you think the other kids will like me? She asks as I walk her to school. Honey, they're going to love you. Just be yourself. That's always enough. Like you always say. Exactly like I always say. I watch her run into the school, fearless and radiant, and my heart swells with pride. Davenport Global is now worth $4.10 billion. We've expanded into renewable energy, ethical manufacturing, and affordable housing. Every decision I make, I think about the kind of world I want Charlotte to inherit. The Davenport Foundation has helped over 15,000 people escape abusive situations. We've funded 3 documentary series on domestic violence. We've lobbied for greater protections for abuse survivors in family court. The Sterling family is now a distant memory. James was released from prison last month after serving his full sentence. He's older and works as a salesman at a hardware store. I heard he applied for a job at Davenport Global. The application was rejected. Victoria is in her 72 NDS, still on house arrest, still working in retail, still paying off her tax debt for the rest of her life. Chloe is now in her late 30s, though she would hate for me to mention it. She works the night shift at a 24-hour diner. No social media presence, no followers, no fame, just an ordinary life that for her is the worst punishment imaginable. Ethan was released 2 months ago after serving 5 years of his 7-year sentence. He tried to contact me once to see Charlotte. I had my lawyers send him a cease and desist order. He signed away his parental rights. He gets nothing. I heard he's a warehouse manager somewhere. He's engaged to someone new. I hope for her sake he learned something, but I doubt it. Sophia is still in prison. She has 7 years left. And as for me, I'm engaged. His name is David. He's a civil rights lawyer. We met at a fundraiser for the foundation. He knows my whole story and he loves me anyway. And more importantly, he loves Charlotte as if she were his own. When I told him about the Sterling family, about everything that happened, he said, "You know what I see when I look at you? I don't see a victim, not even a survivor. I see a woman who refused to be defined by cruelty. I see strength." That's when I knew I could trust him with my heart. We're getting married next spring, a small ceremony, just close family and friends. Charlotte will be the flower girl. She has her whole outfit planned already. Sometimes at night, I still dream of the snow, of the cold, of Charlotte's fading cries, of thinking we were going to die. But I don't wake up screaming anymore. I wake up, go to Charlotte's room, watch her sleep for a minute, and remember, we survived. We did more than survive. We thrived. Last week, a young woman came to my office. She reached out through the foundation. She had been abused by her husband's family and thrown out onto the street. With nothing, just like me. "I saw your story," she said, crying. "I saw what you did and I thought if she could do it, maybe I can too." I took her hand. "Of course you can. And you won't have to do it alone." We got her into one of our shelters, connected her with a lawyer. She started therapy. We helped her file a police report. 2 months later, she sent me a picture of her and her 2 children smiling in their own apartment. That's why I did it. Not for revenge, but for that moment. For every woman who needed to see that even if you're left for dead in the snow, you can rise up and become a queen. Today is April 12th, the anniversary of that boardroom confrontation. Every year on this day, I do something special. This year, I'm giving a TEDx talk on trauma, resilience, and justice. I'm standing on stage looking out at 5,000 people. When I was left in that snow, I begin. I was convinced I was dying. I was convinced I was a nobody. I was convinced it was what I deserved. But I was wrong about every single thing. Pain doesn't break everyone. Sometimes if you're strong enough and refuse to give up, pain forges you into someone stronger than you ever imagined. I'm not special. I'm not a superhero. I'm just a woman who refused to stay down. For everyone out there going through your own storm, your own moment of despair, this is not the end of your story. It's the beginning. Get up, brush the snow off, and show the world who you really are. Because trash doesn't build empires. Trash doesn't change lives. Trash doesn't inspire thousands of people to find their own strength. You are not trash. You are not a nobody. You are powerful beyond measure. And one day, you will look back on this moment and realize that it was right here that you became unbreakable. The standing ovation lasted for 3 minutes. Afterward, hundreds of people line up to talk to me, to share their stories, to thank me, to tell me that they too are rising up. That night, I'm home with Charlotte and David. We're making dinner together. Something simple. Pasta, Charlotte's favorite. "Mommy, why do people always want to talk to you?" Charlotte asks as she carefully stirs the sauce. "Because Mommy's story helped them understand something very important." "What's that?" "That no matter what happens to you, you get to decide what it means. You get to decide who you become. Like how you became a queen." I laugh. "Something like that, my love." David kisses my temple. "The queen who rose from the snow. I like that." I say. After dinner, after Charlotte is asleep, David and I sit on the balcony just like Jessica and I did years ago. Do you ever regret it? He asks. That it was all so public. The live stream, the media circus. I think about it honestly. No, because it wasn't just about me. It was about every person who was ever told they were a nobody. Every person who was ever thrown away like trash. I wanted them to see that you can come back from that. That you can not only survive but thrive. You've changed so many lives. They changed their own lives. I just showed them it was possible. We sit in a comfortable silence, holding hands, watching the city. I think about the Olivia from 5 years ago, broken, bleeding, convinced she was going to die in the snow. If I could go back and talk to her, I would say, hold on just a little longer. Help is on the way, and in 5 years, you will be happy. Truly genuinely happy. Charlotte will be healthy. You will be in love. You will have helped thousands of people. The Sterling family will be nothing more than a bad memory. The snow doesn't last forever. Spring always comes. My phone buzzes. It's an email from the foundation. Another woman reaching out for help. Another person ready to escape her own snowstorm. I reply immediately, connecting her with resources, letting her know she's not alone. Because in the end, that's what it was all about. Not revenge. Honestly, not even justice. It was about making sure no one else ever had to lie in the snow, broken and bleeding, believing they were worthless. It was about showing the world that you can be thrown away like trash and still become a queen. And if my story, my pain, my journey can help even one person find the strength to rise up and fight, then every single moment of it was worth it. I look out at the city skyline, at the Davenport Global building that bears my grandfather's name, at this city that has become my kingdom. I think of William watching over me, and I hope he's proud. I think of my mother, Catherine, who taught me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is just walk away from what hurts you. I think of little Charlotte, sleeping peacefully in her room, safe and loved, never having to doubt her own worth. And I think of myself, Olivia Catherine Hayes, Davenport, the girl who was a nobody, and the woman who became everything. They left me in the snow when I had nothing. They didn't know I was about to inherit a billion-dollar empire. They didn't know I would survive. They didn't know I would rise from the ashes. But, most importantly, they didn't know that sometimes when you try to destroy someone, you only make them stronger. I am not a victim. I am not even just a survivor. I am a woman who was broken and refused to stay that way. I am a mother who will teach her daughter that her worth is not determined by anyone else. I am a CEO who built an empire on honesty and justice. I am a philanthropist who turns pain into a reason to help. I am the queen who rose from the snow. And if you're listening to this, if you're in your own storm right now, if you're convinced you're a nobody, let me tell you something. You're wrong. You are worthy. You are powerful. You are enough. And one day, you too will rise. Get up. The snow doesn't last forever. Your empire is waiting.